Did you know that NoFap is harder to start in the spring and summer? It's a very biological thing. We are wired to mate during spring and summer. So I am somebody who has done multiple back-to-back 90-day streaks. I've been on NoFap for over 5 years and I make a living coaching people on how to get better at NoFap. This is based on the weather. Like, it doesn't really matter what month it is, as long as, skies are blue, sun's shining, just like right now here in Hungary. It's always gonna be harder to start NoFap because you're gonna have more urges to procreate. And unfortunately, your brain is wired in such a way where the way your brain understands procreation is just basically watching porn. And so that's not the right way, and there's no way to do it. But regardless, your brain thinks that porn equals kids, and so it just wants more of that during the good weather. And the hotter it gets and the sunnier it gets, the harder it will be to resist. So it is now one of the best times to start, because just now you will still have a lot of cloudy days if you live in Europe, if you maybe United States, or later on it will just get harder and harder to start. And really it's the first 7 days that get you, because you might not be able to perfectly resist every urge and use my trigger replacements that I have made videos before. Like, I came up with this idea of trigger replacements where you disassociate your thought about porn and put it into something else. I'm not gonna explain it again. Check out my full guide. It's on my channel, it's for free. You can check it out, and I mentioned that as well. And it's the first 7 days that gets you, because even if you do the right strategies and habits, you still have to convince yourself that you can do it. You can do it, and it is worth doing it. Because after 7 to 10 days, you have the sunk cost fallacy kicking in, which is like, I've already invested a week of resisting urges. If I relapse now, it's gonna be very, very hard for me to get back to this stage. And so you have this extra, this extra protective layer against triggers, which means, like, if you have triggers, if you have urges, if you have random thoughts, because of how much time it would take to get back to your current streak, it will be easier to resist them. And the higher your streak it is, the more protected you are. That's why it's so hard, and that's why so many guys relapse on day 1 to 7, because it's like, I lose nothing if I just skip 1 day, right? I mean, I can get back to where I am. If you're on day 3, you can get it back to it in 3 days. If you're on day 90, it would take a whole season to get back to where you are. Obviously, that's not how actually NoFap works. Like, your brain doesn't get ruined if you just watch porn 1 or 2 times and then get back on your NoFap streak. But that's how your brain thinks it is, and that's the important part, because it doesn't matter how it is actually. The part that is important is how your brain, your subconscious, believes it. And since we are counting these streaks, you have to understand that the longer the streak is, the harder it will be to relapse. So yeah, after 7 days, and definitely after 14 days, it's like, oh, I'm on day 14. Like, you might have this idea of, hey, maybe we should watch some porn, or things aren't going so well today. But this extra protection is within yourself. Like, it's your subconscious, like, hey, I invested 2 weeks into this. Let's not fuck it up and I have to start again, because that would take 2 more weeks. I don't want to do that. So yeah, now is the perfect time to do that first 7 to 14 day streak and to get into that sunk cost fallacy mindset, because once the sun is out and, it will be like very, very warm, you're gonna have more urges. You're gonna, women will be dressing a lot less, like less clothes, more urges. Perhaps for a lot of guys, in real life, women cause urges, which is really, really sad, to be honest. The way I fixed that specifically is just to look the woman in the eyes. But again, that takes a lot of confidence, and it took me like years to get to that point where I'm muscular enough, when I'm confident enough in myself that I'm able to just look a stranger, like beautiful woman, in their eye. And even if I look cringe or something, like today I saw a good-looking girl who, like, I didn't find her very, very attractive, but she was like very obviously like a 10 out of 10. And I was talking to my friend, and we were walking, And so I mentioned like, oh, there are so few good-looking girls anymore around me, as now I'm getting, you know, getting better at life. I find less women attractive, and that's good because I'm not really looking for a relationship at this moment. And then this girl just walks past us, like speed walks past us. It was like very funny because she was, like I mentioned, that she's probably the only like good looking like 10 out of 10 women that I saw. And so it would have been like, if I was a couple of years earlier, I would have been like cringed out and like, oh shit, like, oh, she might have heard it. But instead, because of my confidence in my abilities and my physique, I just laughed it off. Like I literally looked at her and she perceived it. Of course, she wasn't looking at me. She wasn't trying to pick me up or play games with me. But I just laughed it off to my friend, like, yeah, she's the one. And then we just kept talking and she kept walking, and that's it. So there has to be a progress to get to this point where you're able to confidently look someone in the eyes. But even if you can just look at the woman's face, what it does is it disqualifies the person as a sex object, and it gives her a soul. It gives you the understanding that this person has a personality, just like your friends do, and just like your parents do, and there is nothing really different from your parents, from your friends, and the people that you're watching on the screen aren't like that because you cannot connect to them in real life. So that is a long story, but that's how you fix that situation where you just keep looking at women's asses and their legs and whatever because you see them as objects. Now, there is a caveat to this, especially with my first 2 streaks. I found that before day 30, it's very hard not to instinctively look at their you know, body parts and just look at them as objects. So you might have to force yourself to observe their face whenever you instinctively look at their ass, because if you don't, you will have those urges potentially later on. Now, again, this isn't for everybody. This is just my findings, and I found that most of my clients actually have this as well, where it helps them when they are, you know, not necessarily making eye contact, but when they are making that human connection, they're connecting the person's face and their facial structure to the rest of their being. Yeah, so guys, watch out for the first 7 days. That's what gets you, and this isn't gonna last forever. You won't be reminded of porn by everything and women, by everything that you're looking at. You know, there's this NoFap meme that, you know, even I look at like a lamp and it reminds me of a human vagina. Like, that doesn't last forever. That lasts for when you just quit porn after like years of watching porn. That lasts about 60 to 90 days. If you can weather that, even if you relapse at some point later, it will not be the same again. Like, you will know the difference and you will never want to go back. If you reach that 90 days, it's like, there's a reason why we count the days to 90. It doesn't really matter what day you are above 90, but the first 90 days are so important because it shows you the reality of your situation the first time you quit porn. That is why we do the first 90-day streaks. That is why it's so important. Because even later on, like, even if you relapse, you will know that like life is shit when you're just watching porn every single day, and it's complete trash compared to how it was when you were on that 90-day streak. That's why we are doing the 90 days. And that's it for today. Again, 75 hard, staying accountable here on this channel. It's all about coaching. It's all about accountability. If you're interested in my coaching and accountability program, you can message me on Instagram and, you know, see what we can do together. If you need some help with NoFap, if you need some help with staying accountable, day 17 of 75 hard. So I'm doing better than before. Things are looking up, hopefully. Let me just knock it on the table. Yeah, things are looking up from here. See you guys tomorrow.